bluegrass ideas out of a G shape. Here we go. Okay, I want to walk you through these ideas. First, a little word. I've done a couple series already on licks, the idea of licks. And a lot of folks are highly opinionated about the idea of licks and what the purpose of a lick is. I've heard this a lot in so many different musical worlds, different musical settings. The idea that licks are lame and that you should be more original and don't just play licks, play your own original ideas. Well, sure, that's great, but the one thing about this all is that music is a language. And some genres of music, like bluegrass, have a well-established and historical language with set vocabulary, and there's a premium put on making reference to that vocabulary and expanding upon it, making it your own, but still, using this vocabulary as a way to establish that you are in fact playing bluegrass. It's a stylistic choice to play some of this language, this vocabulary that has been played over the last 80 or so years of bluegrass music in the United States, at least. And so, yeah, there's a fine line between stealing or referencing. Borrowing, maybe, is the happy medium. So when I'm thinking about improvising, yeah, sure, sometimes I'm thinking about licks. And especially on the fretboard, to a certain extent, all instruments make use of patterns. Guitar is definitely one of those instruments where patterns are crucial. And I would argue that actually patterns, we can use them to our advantage because they can help guide us through the material, and we can think of licks as mapping out the fretboard with zones, with little pieces of language. So licks are good, licks are bad. Licks can be overused, can be overplayed, but in its best form, licks are what guide us, are what help us know what we should do, where the music has been before us, and where it can go in the future. And so I think licks are a great way to learn bluegrass, but they're not the be-all, end-all, right? I'm not saying you should just play licks and that's it. And so with this series, I want to think of not licks, but broader brushstrokes that can guide you in your improvising and thinking about what type of material you want to play and what you want to express on the guitar in a bluegrass setting. And so I'm going to incorporate some language of bluegrass, some licks, and fill out the space in between those licks with chromaticism. And so if you don't know chromaticism, or a chromatic scale, is just made up of half steps, ascending or descending, right? And so this is the idea of chromaticism, and you can add chromaticism to support some of your bluegrass language. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to use chromaticism as an idea to further flesh out some of our bluegrass language. So here we go. The first lick is this ascending pattern, and we're going to try to stick in the first 3 frets of this G shape. And this is an idea that a lot of guitar players use. It's not perfectly chromatic. We're skipping some notes and we're sticking to the pattern of 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's not perfectly chromatic, but it gives the general gesture of being chromatic. So here's the first lick. 2, 3, 4. see how we used an idea, not a lick, the idea of ascending in a generally chromatic sense, and then we bookended that idea with some bluegrass language or a lick, right? Just a way to start to think about coming up with some of your own lines. Let's go to example 2, lick 2. We're going to use the general concept of descending in a not strictly chromatic sense again, but this pattern of 3 frets per string. 3 frets and an open, right? 3, 2, 1, open, 3, 2, 1, open, 3, 2, 1, open. Doesn't produce perfectly chromatic scale in terms of half step, half step, half step. There are a couple whole steps in there, but it generally alludes to the idea of descending chromaticism, and we're going to bookend that with a lick. So here we go. Lick 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those 2 ideas, licks, whatever you want to call them, dealt with single note lines, right? And with these single note lines, chromaticism as an idea, or being chromatic, can fill in space in so many different ways in bluegrass, right? You're not limited to this as a lick. It's not a strict lick. It's an idea that you can incorporate to your improvising, right? So, there's another one. There's another idea. There's another idea, right? You can come up with so many infinite different possibilities of using this general principle. Now I want to incorporate triads. It can have a really cool effect. So we're going to use like this D-shaped triad, right? Our triad is comprised of a 5th, a root note, your D, and a 3rd, right? So we're going to use this triad and we're going to use it ascending and descending chromatically, and those are going to be your next 2 licks. So ascending with the triad, it's not going to start in the D shape, it's going to start a half step up. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the last lick, we're going to demonstrate again this chromaticism with this triad shape down. We're going to be descending. So we're going to start up from this G triad, and we're going to go down to get back into open position, home base. 1, 2, here we go. Okay, so there you have it. Just some initial ideas of how to use chromaticism, half steps, to help bolster your bluegrass ideas, to fill out the gray space, to create motion, to create trajectory. All licks are really just ideas by another name.